I'm Mark.
And I'm Josh.
And this is Alter Ego Comics TV for the week of August 24th, 2016. Thank you for joining us as we run through our picks for the best new comics of the week. Before we get started, I want to give a couple quick shout-outs. We actually got a visit from one of our viewers last week. Zach from Virginia was passing through on his way to Cincinnati and actually went out of his way by about an hour and a half to come pay us a visit. So thank you, Zach, for stopping in and for supporting us here at the shop. It's great to meet our viewers face to face because I know we have a lot of viewers from outside of the area. Zach said he's been watching since episode 160-ish, so that's like 3 years, yeah. I think. So thank you, Zach. Also got a great email from Barry over in the UK. He is crediting us with getting him back into comics and into creator-owned comics. So that's high praise indeed, and that's what we're here for, just to spread the word that comics are awesome and that there are comics out there that are more than just Marvel and DC. While we love our Marvel and DC, and 5 of the 6 titles we'll be talking about this week fall into that category, creator-owned is its own thing and is totally worth checking out. In fact, as I was reading my stack of stuff last night, I realized I'm reading more creator-owned books than I ever have before and enjoying them, in some cases, a lot more than I'm enjoying mainstream stuff. So thanks to Barry and Zach for both emailing and stopping in. So we'll dive into this week's stuff. My pick of the week is one I did not think I was going to dig, but I did. Kingsway West, number 1. This is written by Greg Pak with artwork by Mirko Kolak, whose art looks very much like the Kubert brothers. So if you're a fan of Andy and Adam Kubert, you want to check out the artwork by Kolak. This is Old West, New Magic. This is a story very kind of Firefly-esque to some degree. It's taking place in the Old West. In fact, I think it says, is there a year in the beginning of this?
1830. Well, they say when this war started.
1837. So it's an alternate history,
right.
Which is always fun, where China and Mexico have kind of divided up the Old West, and we find out that the United States of New York is still in play somewhere here. But we've basically got a man with no name type character, a Jonah Hex type character, a guy who's done really bad stuff during the war and is now roaming the earth like Cain, trying to find peace. And
Cain and Kung Fu?
Yeah,
or
no,
Cain from the Bible?
Cain and Kung Fu, actually. Cain in the Bible did also roam the earth.
It's true, yeah.
Yes, for different reasons. And he just they won't leave him alone. Both sides won't leave the guy alone. He tries to find happiness and peace, but like so many of these types of characters, it does not always end well. We get supernatural red dust, which is apparently the... Red gold.
There's a gold rush but the gold is magic.
Yes. So they actually find a vein of red gold, which everyone is after. We've got a dragon that is acting like a bloodhound. We get magical swords and all kinds of awesome stuff. I really, really enjoyed this. Can't wait to see where it goes next. And Greg Pak is always good for a good yarn. So definitely check out Kingsway West, issue number 1. This is by Dark Horse Comics, and it's my pick of the week.
My pick of the week this week is Detective Comics 939. And some people have lamented the lack of a Tim Drake title for the last 2 iterations of the universe. We didn't have one during the New 52, and we don't have one now. And I'm here to tell you that if you love Tim Drake, Detective Comics is what you need to be reading. This issue was almost like a Tim Drake spotlight issue. He was brilliant, and he was just great. We're continuing the story of Batman and Cassandra Cain. I'm sorry, not Cassandra Cain. Well, Cassandra Cain too. Kate Cain.
Spelled differently.
Building a team of Bat Family people to fight her father, who's working with a bunch of pseudo-military Batmen type of folks. And we also get some really good flashback stuff with a young Bruce shortly after his parents' death and a young Kate, which is nice because, I guess theoretically I always knew that worked out chronologically, but we never see it on the page. And it's cool to see their relationship given some back matter. And yeah, just awesome, great bad stuff. There's even, there are even moments in this book where I loved Clayface. You made me love Clayface. So good work, James Tynion. Art by John Barrows? Eddie Barrows. Detective Comics is great.
We've said it from the beginning, James Tynion IV is writing an outstanding Detective Comics. Between this and Batman, the Bat books are so strong right now, you definitely want to be checking them out. I loved it. Next up for me is Steve Rogers, Captain America, number 4. This is branded a Civil War II tie-in and is very loosely a Civil War II tie-in. But that's okay, because Nick Spencer is telling just an amazing Captain America story that I think... I said this about Rick Remender's run on Captain America, and I don't think many of you believed me, or many of you didn't agree with me, but he did that Escape from Dimension Z storyline, which was Cap totally out of his element, but was so interesting to me because it was new, it was fresh, it was stuff we hadn't seen before. And when you're talking about characters that have been around for 75 years. I don't know how long Cap's been around for. 70 years, 60? He was around 40s, right?
Yeah.
For the Timely, and then
40,
he came back.
41's the first issue.
So a long time. It constantly amazes me when these talented writers tell stories that actually engage us as readers with characters that have been around for so long. So this is Cap thinking that he is the savior of Hydra, and it's not necessarily a fun Cap story to read. It's going to make people angry, which it already has. But it's a good story. Yeah, you can't deny that Spencer is telling a very good story here. And part of the interest in keeping with this is to see how it resolves. We know that Cap isn't going to stay evil forever. We know that he's not going to become the new head of Hydra for the next 10 years. He might, I don't know. But he's doing some stuff in here that it's very much like Mark Millar's Wolverine story, which I can't remember the name
Enemy of the State?
Enemy of the State, where Wolverine is brainwashed by the Hand and basically goes on a killing spree and has to deal with the fallout and the consequences. Cap is doing some pretty dark stuff in here, and he has from issue number 1. So if you can take it, if you can handle reading a Captain America that is not hot dogs and apple pie, then you're going to get a great story here. And that's all I have to say about that. Artwork's by someone, Pina Colada. 2 artists, Javier Pina and Miguel Sepulveda. Good stuff.
Coming from all new Marvel Now, for real this time, Captain America, hot dogs, and apple pie.
Yes.
Next up for me this week is Batgirl number 2, written by Hope Larson with art by Raphael Albuquerque. And this is a really great Batgirl book that is not that much a Batgirl book. If you're looking for the traditional Batgirl kind of story, Gotham, detective, vigilante stuff, that's over in Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. This is Barbara Gordon walking the earth, getting into adventures, looking into things, and it's really, really good. I mean, she is in the costume a few times in the book, but a lot of it is just Barbara being Barbara and investigating. And a lot of times there's a really great episode of Batman the Animated Series where they're trying to trick Bruce into thinking he's crazy. And they do it by making him hear voices, and they keep saying, Bruce, Bruce. And at the end, Terry's like, how did you know you weren't crazy? He's like, because I don't call myself that. Because he calls himself Batman. And in a lot of the same way, I think Barbara Gordon is Batgirl more than she's Barbara Gordon a lot of the time. So it's really cool to see a Barbara Gordon world globe-tripping, investigative, fun story.
I concur. New this week, the long-awaited Blue Beetle Rebirth number 1, written by Keith Giffen and artwork by Scott Collins. This is Jaime Hernandez and Ted Kord together as kind of a Batman and Robin type team, but not really Batman and Robin. Josh will come up with something by the time I'm done talking. A team up, maybe. Mentor-mentee. Ted has taken Jaime under his wing. But Jaime isn't so sure he wants to be there because Ted is all about the adventuring and the superheroing and saving the day, and Jaime just wants to get the damn scarab off his back. So you put those two together and you get humor, you get action, you get a relationship in comics, specifically DC Comics, that you don't really see as a superhero team. So people have wanted the Ted Kord Blue Beetle to come back. I kept waiting for him to show up in costume, and sadly he does not. And that may happen somewhere down the road. But he does wear a Blue Beetle shirt and have funky goggles that help him with all kinds of tech stuff. Jaime Hernandez has a dedicated fan base, I think. Lots of people jumped in reading his Blue Beetle from many years ago, or several years ago. And it's great to see him back in the DC universe. We'll see what happens here. But I was sucked in, and the most pleasant aspect of all, I didn't hate the Scott Collins artwork, which is usually the case. So he's adjusted his art style a little bit. Maybe it's the inking. Let me see who's doing inks. Blah, blah, blah. Actually, it looks like Collins is inking himself, so maybe that's
the solution.
Maybe that's the solution. I enjoyed it.
It's good.
Did you enjoy it?
I did.
All right.
I have no analogy that's better.
He has no anal. What?
Comic books. Now, last up for me, we've got Ulysses #1. This is a Civil War II tie-in miniseries written by Al Ewing with art by Carl Kessel. And you see how weird and creeper... It says Carl Kessel.
Yeah, let me see.
Layouts by Carl Kessel, artist Hefe Pello. Hefte? Do I pronounce the T in the
Hefte. Neil Hefty?
My name is Hefe. And you see how creepery Karnak is on that cover? He's like that the whole freaking issue.
Yeah, he's creepier on the inside.
Yeah. This is Medusa bringing Ulysses to Karnak to have him kind of teach him to use his powers to help him find the best way to be an Inhuman, which apparently is Karnak's role in the Inhumans now. And it's really good, but wow, is it weird. Like, Karnak is super creeper. He's like halfway to like the Ancient One and Doctor Strange, and halfway to somebody that Jeff Probst would find on How to Catch a... That's not Jeff Probst. Who's on How to Catch a Predator? Chris Hansen.
That's a bad imitation. Let me throw one thing in here, though, because if you are a Game of Thrones fan, reading this, I was reminded very much of the Arya Stark situation where she goes to the Ancient One, for lack of a better term. The guy who... She goes to Zartan, the guy who can look like anybody, and he basically puts her through hell and trains her, and he keeps calling... her the girl, and Karnak to me it felt like Al Ewing just like mainlined the 5th and 6th seasons of Game of Thrones and then transferred it into the Inhumans world. So if you liked that, you'll like this.
There you go. He's the main part of Civil War too.
And we get to meet a bunch of Inhumans that are living in Karnak's castle, Karnak's
with
tower.
Really weird powers.
Yeah, and man, do not eat in that cafeteria. I will say that much. It was very interesting. I enjoyed it. All right, another week is upon us. All kinds of awesome stuff, and I do want to say there are a lot of books we didn't talk about. At this point, all of the DC Rebirth books that we've talked about in the past, we still like for the most part. You know, I read Wonder Woman, Batgirl, Flash, Action, Detective, and enjoyed all of them. So DC is really doing an outstanding job, and I know Josh read more than that because he always reads more than I do. Just a great time to be reading comics. So head out to your local comic shop this week and pick up some cool stuff. And if you're traveling through the state of Ohio, if you're traveling through the United States, we're right off I-75 in the heart of Ohio, exit 127. We'll get you to Alter Ego Comics. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you liked... I'm sorry, go
We're
ahead.
only the heart of Ohio if it's a Vulcan, because we're on the wrong side.
Yes. But we're the Vulcan heart of Ohio. That's it. We're going to make bumper stickers, and we'll let you know when those are ready. If you like this episode, give us a thumbs up over there on the side, and make sure you hit subscribe so you see all of our new videos. We are adding new video series all the time. Josh is on a roll. We need a new Bazaar of the Bazaar, I think. We're overdue. And check out Alter Ego Plays, where Josh, Amanda, and Alex will sit around this very table and play one of the board games that they really like. Last week was the premiere episode featuring Ninja Camp.
Correct.
Yeah. So check them out, and as always, we appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.